Welcome back to Sunday Vibes, one and all, and welcome to 2021. I'm joined as ever by Chris and Pat. Hamster, 2021. How exciting. Any New Year's resolutions?
I was just about to ask you the same question to buy myself some time. This is not something we've discussed. I knew you were about to throw me under the bus. God damn it. I completed my last New Year's resolution, which was a run every 3 days.
That's impressive.
Which kept me in like okay shape. But I realised having done no weights, I've literally become like a skinny fat runner guy. So maybe I'll buy some sort of bar or something and add some weight work to my physique, because I'm going to go South Africa in April and I would like to look different to I currently do.
I can imagine you prowling the beaches of South Africa.
Don't say prowling.
Yeah, I don't know what I said. Prowling was a bad word.
That is not on.
Yeah, prowling was a bad word. I'm not going to lie. Pato, any New Year's resolutions?
I don't tend to make New Year's resolutions, I think. But I guess like there's stuff I want to do. Like I want to continue losing weight up to a goal. That was kind of something I wanted to do this last year, and I've succeeded to an extent. What else? I don't know. Like I'm doing some study. Like there's a lot of stuff going on this year. But I don't know. I've never really set proper New Year's resolutions. I always kind of thought that was like a thing people talked about on TV, but no one really did in real life.
Yeah, me too. They just end up, you just never do them, do you? I don't think,
No.
I haven't done one for a long time. I probably said one on last year's Sunday Vibes, but I've forgotten what it was. Anyway, let's get into some football chat, because it's rubbish listening to us chat about New Year's resolutions. Now, 2020 has just finished, so we thought it would be a good time to chat about teams of the years. Loads of people were asking us for our team of the year. Pato actually did an 11, I think, of team of the year, but we're going to put a bit of a spin on one today. We're going to do our underrated team of the year. So underrated manager, underrated formation, underrated players, you name it, it has to be underrated. Then we all have to kind of agree as well that that player or that coach or that formation has been underrated at some stage. Lots of people are asking for this, so I can't call out one name. But do we want to start by deciding an underrated formation? Because I think 4-3-3's been done. I think 4-2-3-1's been done. And I'm putting this forward now. I think it's the return of 4-4-2. Very effective this year, and I think that is the underrated formation we should go for.
It's literally the only underrated formation, I think, right? Like especially because
maybe
especially
three at
because
the back.
formation. I think we all know now that formations are kind of like a little bit made up. They're a little bit like a fairy
Fugazi.
story. Like there are Arsenal fans who every week will absolutely flip their shit based on whether Arteta's playing 3 at the back or 4 at the back, and they don't seem to notice that we basically set up the same way regardless of which one we do. So, but yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like 4-4-2 has become underrated. Like basically, I think now the average football Twitter like genius thinks that you cannot be a top team and play 4-4-2. And I don't think that's true, and I don't think anyone intelligent really thinks that's true, right? Like 4-4-2 can work.
So let's stick with 4-4-2 and let's move on. Who is leading the charge in our dugout as manager of Underrated FC?
Oh, underrated. Now, you see, this is probably Potter, isn't it? But can we classify him as underrated? Because you never stop running your mouth about him, so he therefore must be rated.
And I won't all season. I got invited on a Brighton podcast the other week. Like, literally, just because of how much shit I chat about Graham Potter. Absolutely love the guy. I think he is the outstanding candidate for this, but I am open to other suggestions. Who do we think is underrated at current in the Premier League, then, barring the Potmeister General?
Hodgson.
He is very underrated, and 4-4-2 would suit him down to the ground.
Exactly. Like, Hodgson is... We're not going to be good. We're not going to be watchable. But 4-4-2, he's going to keep us up. I'll say that for him.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going to throw in, and I'm about to get battered for this. I think the most underrated manager in the league is Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Oh
I think people actually believe he's the worst manager in the division. If you were to get people to rank him, a lot of people would have him 20th.
People have literally stopped typing out comments slating me for my Pottergander, and they've highlighted it all, they've deleted it, and they're now typing out hatred towards you. I can almost hear it.
I'll tell you who else. Ralph Hasenhüttl.
Good shout.
Ralph Hasenhüttl.
I think that's turned the corner now. Like I think people rate Hasenhüttl. But like I was going to ask, do either of you think that we've reached a point where Pep is a little bit underrated?
No.
See, I like that narrative. I find it I find it hard to take seriously though, because I think people are just being more audacious on purpose to get more.
That's a fair
airtime.
point. Yeah, that's a fair point.
So I'm not even.
It's
willing
a headline grabbing
yeah,
opinion, isn't it?
I'm not willing to entertain their shit about Pep Guardiola. Like he's been in the top 3 managers for the last decade. So I like Roy Hodgson because he spent about 18p and puts together, a 10th place side year in year out.
I think I've got to actually pull up the table before we start this so that I could just look at the table and remember the clubs that are in this god awful division.
Should we just go Roy Hodgson?
Yeah, Roy Hodgson for me.
Yeah, I'm happy with either. These are great choices.
Okay, so we've gone 4-4-2. We've gone Roy Hodgson, which is a hilarious start. Let's go with a goalkeeper.
It's a great start.
Then.
Come on.
This is already
going to finish above Arsenal.
Their best Sunday vibes of the year.
I think
Palace are above Leeds right now, man. I'm looking at the table. Palace are above Leeds. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, but they might not be by the time this video comes out, Pat.
Mate, they've got a positive goal difference. Leeds have got a negative goal difference. The table doesn't lie. Arsenal 15th, Palace 12th. Get Roy in.
All right, let's start with goalkeeper then. Who are we going as our underrated goalkeeper? Surely Gaeta.
Oh, God.
I've got 3 candidates for you here that I think are the outstanding shouts in the Premier League.
Okay.
Cole Darlow, Sam Johnson, and Gaeta, who I keep calling Higuita, as in Rennie Higuita.
I put my hat behind Gaeta, I think. But is it because he's playing under Hodgson, who actually can coach a defence? It's very hard.
That's a very sound point. I did some digging into the numbers goalkeeper-wise just to prove that Ramsdale wasn't great. Didn't take me long. But Carl Darlow is facing about 5.5 shots on target per 90 at the moment. So I think you take him and you take Callum Wilson out of the team and they probably get relegated.
Yeah.
I mean, they could get relegated anyway, to be honest.
I mean, a very, very good point.
they have it within them. I believe in their ability to get relegated.
I think you could say the same about Nick Pope.
Yeah.
Like if you took Nick Pope and sent it back out, they'd be in big mud. I think I'll go Gaeta because I think Gaeta might actually be Palace's best ever Premier League goalkeeper.
Oh, more than Corelli.
Strong.
Yeah, I think maybe, was it Nigel Martin who had one outstanding season at Palace in the past? I think they're on course at the moment for him to be like one of the outstanding goalkeepers in the club's modern history. So I'll go Gaeta.
Yeah, I think if we're talking about this season, he's raised his level yet again. I think his save percentage is about 75% at the moment, which is the sort of yardstick for a great goalkeeping season, isn't it? So I'm pretty happy with Gaeta. Pat, what about you?
I would say though that when you look at post-shot expected goals, Darlow is exactly where you'd expect him to be, and Gaeta is only marginally ahead, whereas Sam Johnston is second in the league behind the young Pope.
Have you pulled up post-shot expected goals already, or have you?
You're goddamn right, I have.
That was very quick work from you.
Wow.
I've got. I mean, actually, when you look at this, there are loads of good keepers in the Prem, man. Like Łukasz Fabianski is obviously a very good keeper. Elon Meslier, we barely talk about him.
Yeah.
And actually, I'd say that over the last few years, with the exception of one season, really, Casper Schmeichel has been a little bit underrated as well. I think Casper Schmeichel is a fantastic keeper, even though he's now a very old man.
No, I said this on the podcast I went on. The aforementioned Brighton one. He, over the last 5 or 6 years, I completely see why Chelsea bid £40 million for him. He would still be their number one and they wouldn't have spent stupid money. So I do agree that he's underrated, but not as much as some of the guys we're probably talking about.
Is there anybody else? I think we should go Gaeta.
I'm fine with that.
There's 2 votes for Gaeta. Let's roll.
Yeah. Okay, let's go Gaeta. Let's move on to right back then. Again, I think for me, I will go Serge Aurier. I actually think Serge Aurier has been the best, if not the second best, right back in the Premier League this season, and still gets slandered by opposition fans as being terrible. Keeping Doherty out of the team, I think he's making over 5.5 tackles and interceptions. He must be up there among tackle leaders in the Premier League, if not the tackle leader in the Premier League. I think he's just been an absolute monster under Mourinho. So yeah, I'm throwing Serge Aurier firmly in there.
Although, to play devil's advocate, of course, Højbjerg and Moussa Sissoko putting up a lot of defensive actions themselves, guarding that back 3, 5, 4, whatever it is, 6, 7. very, very well. So while some Spurs defenders, have had a renaissance, Eric Dyer as well, we might get onto him in a minute, they are getting a lot of protection. Like Matty Cash maybe does not get the same level of protection and is putting up very similar numbers, and he has easily the best trim in the Premier League. It's absolutely godly and remains so for the full 90, which he deserves a lot of credit for.
The thing about Aurier is that, like, I feel like the people who hate him are still kind of right about him. Like, the thing about Aurier is he's an amazing defender, like, 90% of the time. And then the other 10% of the time, he does the dumbest things that you can possibly imagine. Like, all game, he'll be, like, just absolutely dominating a winger. And then he'll, like, make a stupid challenge, give away a penalty, or, like, just go to sleep for a minute. I mean, in a way, it helps that we're going into this on the back of what was really a fantastic individual performance against Sadio Mane in the game against Liverpool. I mean, he was almost impassable, Serge Aurier, in that game.
I want to throw another name in here as well. Yeah. Vladimir Coufal at West Ham. I think as a right-back option, very, very underrated right now. I don't think anybody even chats about him. Putting up pretty solid defensive numbers. Very consistent as well. I think he's an outside contender between Aurier, Matty Cash, Coufal. I think those are three very good names in there. I actually think Soufal's a good shout.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think we can probably all settle on Aurier, can't we?
Yeah, bang.
Yeah, just because I think he's been so outstanding. All right, let's go to a centre back then.
Right, I've wrote him down.
Any names standing out? I think there could be another Tottenham boy in here. I think Eric Dyer could be in here. I think massively. If we were doing a most improved team of the season, he would be in there. But is he underrated?
Or is he just performing at kind of the, the level we maybe expected when he was linked with Man United for like 40-50 million pounds? Like, he's become solid. Are his performance levels that high that he's become underrated? Like, he's a very good distributor, but he's not having to do too much defensively. I think he puts up a sort of team high amount of clearances. He is good at absolutely thwacking the ball out of danger. But is his performance level of is it better than Ogbonna's? Is it better than Bednarak?
Yes.
Okay. Really, I think Bednarak should probably go in, man. I
think Vestergaard's been better than Bednarak this season.
Oh, I don't know about that, man.
Yeah, it could be either one of those boys, to be honest.
Again, they get a lot of protection, don't they? Because like
a lot of love and affection.
Romeo
except when they don't, like when the press breaks down, then they're in trouble. But what about some of the Everton guys? Like, what about like Jerry Mina or like Michael Keane? Like, they're pretty competent defenders in a side which is doing very, very well this season. I
feel more so Keane than Mina in the Everton defence this season.
But that's what everyone says, and I think there's like this weird dislike of Mina that I can't quite get my head around. I think people are just like, I think people think he's like reckless, but I'd actually trust him more in space than Keane, because Keane is like quite a conservative defender.
I wrote a script. Like, I like Mina on the ball. Weirdly enough, I think it's out of possession. Like, he's a little bit suspect, and I think I wrote a script about a month ago, so the stats might be out of date, but he was leading the league for sort of like prominent centre halves, with mistakes per 90 or fouls per 90, which I think lingers in my head. Have we got like one we all agree on straight away? Should we just put Eric Dyer in one of the positions?
Christ.
Maybe Kurt Zuma?
No. Whatever.
No? Okay.
No one at Chelsea is underrated.
I'm going to go Eric Dyer.
Okay.
Come on.
I'm happy to agree with Eric Dyer. I think Eric Dyer is playing really well this season.
I think he's lucky. I think he's lucky to get in. I think Brighton and Wolves, I think those guys have got some pretty underrated centre-backs, but like, sure. Whatever.
I think Vestergaard, for me, has to go in as well. I think Vestergaard's been outstanding this season for Southampton, and a Southampton team that are like ridiculously challenging for like top four. All right, let's go Dyer and Vestergaard. Yeah, let's move on to a left back then. Left back is a harder position here. I think there is a shout for Matty Targett, potentially. There's an outside shout. Villa have been very sound defensively, and the fact we didn't go for Matty Cash, could we potentially go Matty Targett?
We need a Matt. We need a Matthew in defence.
We need a Villa defender.
Cresswell's been great,
doing really well.
But he has been playing left centre back, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
Masuaku is a lot of fun though.
Who's been playing? Masuaku is a lot of fun. Who's been playing left back for Leeds? Has Dallas been at left back, or he's kind of been in midfield as well, hasn't he?
He's been a bit all over the place though, isn't he? He's kind of plays everywhere, doesn't he, Dallas?
Okay.
I think there are players who are underrated, but it's not. But I don't necessarily think they're performing that well right now. Like, so for instance, like I think that because of their struggles either getting into sides or playing for bad sides, I think guys like Zinchenko and Tierney are underrated, but they haven't been particularly good this season. Like, so it's hard to put them in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But like, I think Tierney could probably be one of the better left backs in the league. I think Zinchenko is a really talented. Did you see the rumours linking him with Wolves? I was kind of like, I'm on board with that. That's pretty exciting. I'd like Solly March.
Ooh.
I'd like Solly March. Solly March.
I'd be happy to put Solly in there. I would be happy to put
defensive
Solly in there.
work, his creative work, like I love Solly March, man. He's such a good player.
Yeah, he's like
Yeah, perfectly happy with that.
his evolution from attacking midfield, like okay attacking midfielder, to like left wing back with bound. I will caveat with that. He does play his best football at wing back, but boundless energy, great dribbling skills, smart passing. Let's go Solly March.
And he's got Roy Hodgson, you know, to help him out. He'll be fine.
Yeah, true that. Right, we're going right wing, Joe?
Let's right wing then. This is a difficult role in that right wing because oh god, I feel like nobody's like underrated as a winger. Everybody's like the best. Everybody thinks they're like unreal.
What about if we shove JWP out to right wing?
Oh god, no, he's not underrated at all.
No, yeah, I don't think he's underrated either. I think he's everybody's chatting about JWP this season. Like
Iwobi's comeback's been pretty impressive.
More as a right back though, isn't it? It's been more as like a right wing back than as a right mid.
Yeah, though he's horrible in the defensive phase and pretty good in the attacking phase, right? So like, it's hard to say in that regard. He'd actually be quite a good Hodgson right winger, I think, because he does defend a lot. I don't know, man. Like, who else? I mean, there are players who are really underrated. Like,
Could we play Pedro Neto?
Pedro Neto's a great shout, and Podence, both of them.
Pedro Neto, like I'm still on the Pedro Neto bandwagon, so he's always at the forefront of my mind. But could be playing him out right mid. I think he'd do a job for you there.
I think we've got another 3 months as well before he becomes rated, so we might as well squeeze that, that out of him at this point in time,
so that we look clever later on.
Exactly. Low hanging fruit. That's what Football Daily is all about.
Yeah. All right, Pedro Neto out on the right. Let's come to centre mids then, because this is a battle. Centre mids, there's a lot of big names. Go on then.
Well, I think we've got like Anguissa, Fred, Højbjerg, Basuma.
Højbjerg's not underrated anymore. We were right.
We
were early on Højbjerg last season, right? Yeah. But now, oh my god, I've seen so many things in the last couple of weeks being like, what a superstar Højbjerg is, and it was like we were right about this before, and now he's a good system player. Maybe let's not go over.
We've been robbed of that by tabloids then, taking credit for our earlier work. I actually think Gundogan is a good shout for a centre mid. I think Man City look far inferior when he's not in the team, and he gets a lot of shit from his own fans actually for not being not being able to play Fernandinho's role as well as Fernandinho, even though at the tail end of, was it last season? My memory's shot to bits now. He was like great for this 10-11 game period. Like he was just really holding them together. If I'm remembering correctly, that might have been the season before. But what do we think to Gundogan?
Yeah, I agree with Gundogan. I think Gundogan's
I'm not having Gundogan. I don't think. I'm not sure.
He's better than Rodri.
But is he underrated? Gundogan? We said Gundogan's underrated.
Yeah, I don't think anyone
literally
rates
everyone hates him. Yeah.
All right, I'll bow to the peer pressure, and we can put Gundogan in as one of our central midfielders.
You know what should be our way of telling if someone's underrated. We should text George Wright and say, "What do you think of Gundogan?" And he'll say shit, and that means he's underrated.
All right, okay. Who's partnering Gundogan in the centre of the park then? I feel like we need a bit of creativity potentially. Do we? If it's Gundogan in there.
No, because we've got wingers. We're fine. 2 up front.
Mate, Hodgson doesn't want creativity anywhere near the centre of the park.
We've discounted JWP, have we? Because we're saying he's no longer underrated.
Yeah.
I think
we've got
Calvin
so many
Phillips
options here, man.
Calvin Phillips?
I think he's rated. I think people know he's good.
Yeah, with a nickname like the Yorkshire Pearler, you're not underrated, are you?
Yeah, okay, fair. Who else
is
have we got in here
Basuma still underrated, or am I just living in a bubble when I now think people have registered that he's a very, very good player and not like he's Leicester could buy him as a Wilfred Ndidi replacement because he's just not that player whatsoever. I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding of just like how good he is as a deep playmaker. He's one of the most aesthetically pleasing passers in the Premier League, and for that reason,
he could definitely play at a higher level.
Shout. Conor Gallagher, I'm gonna throw that in as outside shout. I think he's been really good for West Brom.
Nah.
Okay, shot down, fair play.
What about Souček, or do people rate him now?
I think he's borderline. We could probably get away with Souček.
I don't know. Maybe people.
He's rated Souček. He's rated now.
I guess that Souček is. I guess what I'm saying is Souček is pretty good, and yeah, I don't think he's better than his reputation. Whereas some of these guys, like Fred, is better than his reputation. Ongisa is way better than his reputation. Gundogan is better than his reputation. So like, yeah,
Mason Mount is better than his reputation.
I guess I don't really know what his reputation is anymore. I can't keep track of it.
All right, I'm happy to go on Ongisa in there as well. You know.
Yeah,
he's won you over because you weren't convinced about him at the start of the season.
I wasn't convinced at all, but he's left me holding a fat L, so I'm happy to stick him in there.
Talking of fat L's, let's wing, mate.
Okay, yeah, left wing.
Oh God, not another.
I want to put Jack Harrison as a potential name in here.
Good shout.
Jack Harrison's actually started the season really well.
Really good shout. I think he's great.
Plays off the left as well, so you can get away with it.
Somebody from Leeds deserves to go in there, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, does take set pieces as well, I think, doesn't he, Jack Harrison? So does skew his numbers a little bit there. Trying to think of other left-sided players.
Well, we could definitely consider Podence here. And while he doesn't play on the left, you could argue he's more of a forward. I think Jared Bowen's a really good player.
Yeah,
a really good player.
Yeah. Good shout.
Both of those probably deserve a little bit of attention. And while he's not a winger by any stretch of the imagination, Ross Barkley's having a great season.
Yeah, Ross Barkley's having a brilliant season.
Great season.
But
it doesn't fit in the 4-4-2.
If we were playing a 10,
enough.
I think he'd be nailed on for that sort of attacking midfield position. In an underrated side.
I want to go Jack Harrison.
I'm fine with that.
We've got to get a Leeds player in there somewhere, and I'd be happy to have one Leeds player, one Wolves player as the two wingers, Pedro Neto and Jack Harrison.
Jack Harrison's currently the 7th most productive player in terms of key passes per night, and you wouldn't necessarily say that. You wouldn't necessarily say that about João Cancelo either, who's 6th, by the way. But yeah, Harrison it is. Let's move on to the forwards then, lads.
All right, the strikers then. Two up front. I presume we're not saying the likes of Dominic Calvert-Lewin are underrated anymore just because he's like flying.
Yeah.
So we can't include him really. Okay.
I said Callum Wilson earlier in the show. I think he's responsible for 10 of Newcastle's 23 goals, if I remember correctly. That might have changed by by the time this airs.
That's a good shout.
Yeah.
Could we play Callum Wilson and Patrick Bamford as a 2? Patrick Bamford, I think, is like 9 goals at the time of recording, taking nearly 4 shots a game.
Do you know what?
But he is playing for Leeds, who generate about 4,000 chances a game.
That is true. And you know, I am really talking of proficient attacks, the narrative I'm really happy with this season is Adams making good on his potential, because 2 seasons ago we were like, he's going to be a really good player. And the next season, he didn't score in like his first however many games, and people were like, he's not ready for this level. But Hasenhüttl persisted with him, and is now like, so he deserves a lot of credit for bringing him on and sticking with him through that tough sort of bedding in period. And now he is like the man, alongside, well, after Danny Ings, isn't he? And maybe Theo Walcott's actually playing well.
Strikers is hard though, because like nobody underrates a striker really. If we're being honest, like everybody's like, oh yeah, like
people think Giroud's underrated, but he's one that's like become is talked about as being so underrated that he's no longer qualifies for this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Mopé is underrated.
Yeah. I'm not convinced by him.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Not sure.
He's still pretty young, man. He's in like his 2nd year in the league.
Yeah.
I think he's
don't get me wrong. I think he's quite a good player, but I think in some of the names this season for this list, I think there's slightly better candidates.
Yeah, I think Rodrigo would also be an interesting candidate. Like he's been really good so far, but has had relatively limited minutes.
Yeah,
misses some sitters as well. Honestly, I've got him in my draft team.
Yeah, but I just
kills me.
Yeah, but players just miss sitters all the time. Like, I mean, like, people are killing, like, you know, guys like Lacazette and Rodrigo for missing, and Gabriel Jesus for missing sitters now. But I mean, like, Aubameyang misses tons of sitters. Timo Werner misses tons of sitters. Like, it just happens. Like, I know what
Antonio?
you mean. Yeah, Mikel Antonio is a sick player.
Yeah, mate. I think Antonio's the best shout.
Antonio?
I think he.
Imagine playing against Antonio. How awful it must be. And Richarlison as well. Richarlison's really good.
I think Antonio leads that line nicely. Not even leads it. Wilson leads it. Antonio just causes absolute fucking mayhem in between the midfield and defence, doesn't it?
Okay, so we need another a strike partner for Mikel Antonio.
No, we've got Callum Wilson, haven't we?
And you're not going Wilson?
Oh yeah, Wilson. I totally forgot about Callum Wilson. Callum Wilson and Mikel Antonio up top.
I think that's a really good team.
Yeah, well... Yeah.
Where
do we think it? Can you go through the team and we say where we think it?
I can. I mean, to reiterate, you know, it's a really good team in the context of being underrated. I think I've got some lists. I've got a few players from the continent I might fire at you guys after, and if we think that they deserve to be in the side, maybe it'd be interesting to substitute them in. Obviously, not a concept we've discussed, but at the minute we've got Gaeta, Mouriel, Dyer, Vestergaard, March, Neto on the right wing, and Gisa and Gundogan holding it down in the middle with Jack Harrison providing
I think this is a shocking
the chance creation on the left wing, and Wilson and Antonio.
That team managed by Hodgson's getting turned over week on week.
It's better than Palace. It's better than Palace's team.
This team finishes 10th, mate, under Roy Hodgson. I guarantee.
Yeah. Palace are in 12th right now. Like, how many players from Palace's first 11 get into this team? 1 or 2?
This team beats United match day 1, mate. 2-0.
Yeah, nailed on. 100% true.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's not too bad, is it? It's not too bad. Do you wanna throw some European players at us, Hamps, to see if I've even heard of them?
Right. What do we think was our weakest positions then? Because that is how I'll tailor it for the European back names. Centre back,
left back,
Dyer's spot. Yeah, centre back, left back.
And Gisa
maybe a central midfielder.
I was going to say, and Gisa and Gundogan was where Tomlinson almost lost the plot.
I think I'll be honest with you,
that's really poor for me.
I think we've got better strikers out there.
Right, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to reel off some centre backs, some left backs, a centre mid, and a forward. And if we think that they, you know, warrant breaking in, we can bring them into the side then. So you two decide. Centre halves. I've gone for, on my little shortlist that I've made. Oh God, they're mainly fullbacks. I've had an absolute stinker. I've got Romero from Atalanta in there. These are the underrated defenders I put down. Quadrado, I think, is having a great season at right back, right? So is Vasquez. Calabria's really come to the fore at Milan. Ferland Mendy, I think it's weird how he's still not replaced Marcelo. Like, he's still being rotated in and out the side. Angelino, Teo Hernandez, Robin Gersons. Like, it's actually maybe
Angelino's nailed on, isn't it? But is Angelino underrated?
No, because he's not underrated. Like, he's underrated in, like, the Anglophone media. But in Germany, he's got like 0.5 expected goals and assists per 90. Like, people have noticed he's good.
Scorer.
It's the same as, like, look, I completely agree that, like, people who don't watch Serie A underrate, like, Calabria and Teo Hernandez, but they are starting fullbacks on the best side in the country right now. Like, I mean, I don't think you'd say they're underrated if we were in Italy, but, like, I know what you mean. Like, people think Angelino is like a garbage player that City let go, and he's playing like a great winger this season.
No, I like it. I like how resistant you two were there. We wanted a centre back, we wanted a left back. We reeled off some names, and you decided no, they don't qualify. Very strict measures in place. I like it. So midfielders then, maybe a similar vibe. Like, it's guys that have kind of made good in their promise after being dismissed. Like, I put Kessié in there because I remember at one point AC Milan fans absolutely hated him. It was the same with Gagliardini at Inter Milan after he came in that January for like 30 million from Atalanta. Renato Sanchez has made a hell of a comeback at Lille. Boubacar Kamara playing really well for Marseille. I think Henrik Mkhitaryan, though, is probably the outstanding candidate here. I again, maybe rated in Rome because he's putting up a goal a game, well, a goal involvement a game at the moment. But outside of that, I think people would still go, Mkhitaryan's been dreadful for 3 years, and that's not really been the case.
Yeah, like if Mkhitaryan came back to Arsenal tomorrow, Arsenal fans would like would be like, oh god, another like rubbish player on our books.
But he would be stinking, wouldn't he? He would stink the place out. That's the fact.
So true.
Well, who doesn't? Who doesn't in our attack right now? I mean,
Yeah, true.
yeah. Have you seen the rumours linking Liverpool with a move for Renato Sanchez as a potential Wijnaldum replacement
Love
in the
that.
long term? Because I thought that was smart as well.
Class. Love that so much. I actually did see that because the Mirror put up, I don't know, I tweeted about it, you didn't see it because you're off Twitter now. They put up a link to an article saying Liverpool have been linked with Renato Sanchez, and then they put his career highlights so far, and it was him passing it out of the
Yeah,
pitch
saw that,
at Swansea like 3 years ago. You know, completely
Jesus.
ignoring the fact that he's rebuilt his career in France. I just thought it was like, there's funny and there's out of date petty digs, and it was just like English media embarrassing themselves.
He's got like multiple titles at club and country level. Like, what are they talking about?
I know, yeah.
Same goes for Bakayoko though. You know, Bakayoko is a guy who like Chelsea fans hate because like he had a really bad few games for them. But like, you know what? He's gone into Napoli, and Napoli are now kind of title challengers, which is a weird coincidence, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, he's doing really well.
So are we putting any of them in there?
I don't feel any of them are strong enough to sort of bastardise the Premier League angle at the minute, do you?
I mean, I do have issues with our central midfield pairing, so I'd be more than happy to put Renato Sanchez in there.
I've got to say, our centre midfield is probably one of the areas on the pitch I'm happiest with. If I could get Eric Dyer out of this team right now, I would do it in a heartbeat. I can't stand the
Right, it's staying as is, but Sanchez is going on the bench.
All right, forwards then. Kramaric, definitely, isn't it?
I mean,
He surely replaces Wilson, man.
But again, I mean, like he scored so much in Germany that like anyone who pays, we rate Kramaric not because like we watch the Bundesliga every week, but because like if you pay even the slightest attention to the Bundesliga, you're like, Jesus Christ, Andre Kramaric scores a lot of goals, right?
Yeah. I think it'd be really
true.
weird now for us to throw one of these players in. Like the shortlist I had, like you said, started with Kramaric, then Zapata. Like, he's obviously rated now in Serie A, and I think people have like, acknowledged him as a double-digit striker in the league for a long time. Luis Mouriel, who literally has a goal involvement about every 13 seconds at Atalanta. Moussa Barrow, we've spoke about. Like, I can't like fathom how many times I've said he should replace Jamie Vardy at Leicester. I'm literally bored of hearing that sentence. And then I put Daniel Malin in because I did him in a script recently, and you know he's getting on all right at PSV. So I don't think there's any outstanding candidates. What about you?
I'm happy to stick with our Premier League team of the season, or underrated team of the year so far for me.
I think it's strong.
I think it was worth as well, like considering these options, just so we could talk a little bit about some of the players around Europe who like, especially players who've been sold by big clubs, who I think always get a really hard ride from fans. Anytime a player is perceived as having failed at either a big club or in the Premier League, and they go elsewhere, people are like, that guy's terrible, he'll never be good. And I think that's so stupid.
Especially
like,
with younger players.
Yes. Yeah, like Teo Hernandez, my God.
Yeah, the guy does a few nervous kick-ups at a f***ing unveiling, and like all of a sudden people can't believe that he's actually a beast.
Oh my God, I love it when they do that though. Is
Imagine
there anything
the
better
pressure
in the world than somebody like not being able to do kick-ups at the Bernabeu? It's so good. Wasn't there a thing where Vinicius tried to do like a rainbow flick and just flicked it into his own arse? It was so good.
Did you see?
But I feel so sorry, man. Imagine having to stand in front of like 80,000. Imagine being like Martin Braithwaite and like somebody poking you with a stick and saying, "Do a keepy up," and like you're just flopping and like, you know you're a meme. Poor bloke. All right. Let's do one very quick fire question because we've been rambling on, and then I'll make up a personal question on the spot. This one from Dom Sullivan 18. He says, if you had to give a most improved player award this season, who would it be? Now, did you give one of these out on the podcast, Pat?
No.
Okay, so who would you be lining up as a potential candidate here?
In the Premier League?
Yes.
That's an interesting question. There are guys like Grealish, who I think Grealish went from a pretty good attacking midfielder last season, who was significantly overrated, to a legit superstar this season. Like, his numbers have gone through the roof. It helps that he's playing in a way more competent side. But Grealish is now like Grealish is phenomenal right now. And last season, I think he was merely good, though he was treated as phenomenal. So
yeah, always had the faith.
That's a tough one. Oh, God.
I think Serge Aurier. I think we've already spoken about him. I think it's Serge Aurier.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these players, right? Because this is very linked with the subject we've just been talking about.
And Fabinho as well, who I'm not the biggest fan of in midfield. I think he's fine, and he's been unbelievable at centre back this season. That's
good.
That's pretty good.
I'd actually throw Curtis Jones in there as well, and I know that he's like another player I am on about, but there's a lot of nuance, isn't there, to a Jurgen Klopp system, and it takes like first team players like Fabinho, you just mentioned, a little while to kind of settle into a role or find a role. And Curtis Jones has kind of been asked to do 3 different midfield roles this season, and every time I've watched him, he's done them adequately. Like I've seen him play the Wijnaldum role, the Jordan Henderson role, the Naby Keita role. He's keeping Naby Keita out the side at the moment, so I think his stars rose really quickly from like, oh, here's a guy that could make an impression in the next 2 years, to like, here's someone that Jurgen Klopp trusts.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think James Ward-Prowse as well has actually definitely improved his game under Hasenhüttl over the last 12 months. Maybe not as much as some of those other guys, but just more consistent than he's ever been.
Yeah.
So I'd have him in there as well. But do you know what? Let's not bother asking a personal question, because we spoke about plans for the year at the start of the show anyway, didn't we? So that's basically a personal question then. And to be honest with you, we've been speaking for 45 minutes. You're probably all bored now anyway. Is there anything to plug? Because we're shooting this so far in advance that I can't think.
Of course, there's always content. We've got loads of FD and EFD explains coming out. There will be a scout report, I think, out on Eurofootball Daily today about how to fix Borussia Dortmund that Patrick wrote, that hopefully someone's around to script, because the Football Daily office currently dropping like flies at Christmas, as is our tradition. Pat, how do you fix Dortmund, mate?
Well, actually, it was interesting we talked about Renato Sanchez, because I suggested him as a potential midfield signing for them. I've tried to find them a little right back as well, and then I've had a look at the leading candidates for the managerial post to see who I think would be the best fit, because I never really thought Favre was quite the right fit for them, but there are some really interesting candidates out there right now. So, I quite enjoyed that one, but it's not that hard to fix a team which is among the best 3 in its league.
Yeah. I would agree with that. Right, that's it for another episode of Sunday Vibes. Welcome to 2021. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you later. Bye.
Bye.